Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whenever you're tuning in to my channel, I want to first and foremost thank everybody for tuning into the channel and watching my videos, subscribing, liking my videos. Uh, the support is amazing, and I really appreciate that. And in today's video, I just want to talk about some things I wish I had known. I wish I had known before getting into the world of fountain pens. And a lot of these things I learned by trial and error. A lot of these things I just learned just by, watching YouTube videos and just coming across things and just, just watching and actually just using and buying a lot of product, right? But one of the main things that I learned as far as like how, well, one of the things I wish I would have known before getting into it is honestly, like, first and foremost, how expensive pens really are, how expensive the hobby can be. And what I mean by that is there are plenty of websites out there that sell fountain pen and stationery gear, right? But the thing is like you can end up spending a lot of money on things that I don't want to say don't matter, but they end up not being used as often as you think they would. I was a person at first where like I wanted to get all the ink colors. I wanted to get every color ink. I come from a collecting background. I collected sneakers. I know I've said that in previous videos, but I've collected sneakers, so it's like having multiples of the same silhouette in just different colors was a normal thing for me. And that's something that I brought over into the hobby of fountain pens. And with TWSBI, they have what, 15, 20 colors of the Eco. And it's the exact same pen. It's just one is transparent blue, one is a different shade, one is a blue, like like a true blue, one's a different shade of blue. So it's like it's all the same silhouette, but it's just a different color. And that's one of the things that like I noticed about that is that like you can end up spending a ton of money on things that on the exact same thing, right? Like for example, when I was into sneakers, right? I had the Jordan 5 and the Jordan 13 were some of my favorites. I like other shoes too, like the Jordan 1s and things like that. But I know I had the Raging Bull package with the red leather sneakers, and then the 3M reflective one, which is the exact same shoe. I had the Grape Jordan 5s. I had the Jordan 3s. I had the flips. I had the fire reds. I had the black cat. So it's like they're the same shoe, just different colors, right? Same silhouette, just different colors. And you can end up doing the exact same thing in the fountain pen world, having like the same TWSBI Eco, but then you have every single color, and it's the exact same pen, right? They all write a little different because materials, and there's just things can change, right? So they all feel a little bit different, but essentially they're all the exact same silhouette, right? So that was one of the things like I wish I had have known. The second thing I wish I had have known when I got into pens was that thicker paper isn't always better, because I came from a world where I just used ballpoint pens, and then just using regular paper, I thought that thicker paper was better. It's not always better. Like I have the Rhodia with 90-pound paper. What is it, 90 GSM? And then I have a Galen Leather with 52 GSM Tomo River paper, and I like the thinner paper better. So yeah, so different paper is thicker paper isn't better. It's just different, right? The next thing I wish I would have known when I got more into fountain pens is that gold nib pens aren't always better. They're different. They write different. They feel different on the page. They flex a little bit different. They have a little bit more flex, and the price is different. But that doesn't necessarily mean that these pens are better than stainless steel nibs. So that was one of the things like I always thought. Like I always was like, well, when I get a gold pen, this is gonna be so much better, and it's different, not better. The next thing, just to follow along with that, also too, is that steel nib pens are fine. even when I was looking at my first gold nib pen, I was looking into like sailors and pilots and stuff like that, and I thought that they were just more superior. They were superior pens, and in a sense they are. But stainless steel pens or steel nibs are fine pens. They are. They work just fine. I have the Delta Icon, which has a steel nib, and then I have a Pilot Custom Heritage 92 with the gold nib. And honestly, the Delta writes a little bit better. If the ink flows a little bit better, but I also think that that's because the ink is, or because the nib on the Delta is a medium versus the fine medium. I just think that they're different. So they're not better, and steel nibs aren't worse. They're just different. The next thing I wish I would have known, paper can make or break your experience. Even more so than ink in my experience, right? Like, you can have ink that's really dry or ink that writes really wet, but I think the more important thing, because like I think that like you can change how you write. Like you can lighten up the pressure, or you can, like you can figure that out. But I think paper, for me personally, will make or break the experience of writing. Like if the paper feels weird, if it feels off, then it's just not going to be good for me. I will get extremely frustrated with paper. Like if it just doesn't write well, if it doesn't feel well, if it feels too slick, or it has like that little, like the Rhodia has like this little wax coating on it that just makes it feel awkward, and it'll just throw it off like certain pens. So I think paper can make or break your experience. The next thing is having multiple inks isn't always a good thing. I know when I came into the fountain pen world, I came in thinking that like I wanted to write with every color ink and all the types of ink, the sheening inks, the shimmering inks, regular ink, and I was highly against blue ink, which is kind of strange because like I thought blue was just like a boring ink, right? I was very against having blue ink in my pens. And it was just something like I just didn't want to do. I didn't want to be bothered with blue ink. So I got all kinds of shimmering ink. And I thought that was just like the coolest thing ever. But then like I learned that shimmering ink will not necessarily ruin your pen, but it will ruin your writing experience if you're not using it in the correct pen. So from now, I only use shimmering ink with glass dip pens. I don't use it in fountain pens, even if it's a broad or a double broad or anything like that. I don't even use shimmering ink in my day-to-day writing at all. And as you know, if you've been following me for a while, I don't even change ink in pens. So like the pens that are inked with my Oxford Blue, that's the ink that they're going to use. I mean, until until like I can no longer find that ink. Side note, like I do plan on buying like 5 of those bottles just to like have and store. I don't know if that's like a good thing or not, but I love the Oxford Blue. But I digress. But that doesn't necessarily mean like for the new people watching this, like more ink isn't better. Because the whole point of the hobby is to write. And I think like the artistic side of it and the creative side of it is like, hey, let's just use different inks for different things, and you ink up a bunch of different pens and stuff like that. And I think that that's cool as well. But I think that having more ink doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. One of the things that like I don't want to say forgot about, but definitely one of the things I wish I had known, pen storage is important. Because I know like for beginners and especially me, like I accumulated like 4 pens within like 3 months, right? And I really had nowhere to put them. And carrying them in my backpack just wasn't a thing that like I was used to doing or like I really felt comfortable doing. So I kind of overlooked pen storage. And I don't mean just like storage like carrying every day. I mean like storage at home, like, a specific box or a specific place for them to go, because I just don't want to stick them in a cup or put them on my desk and they roll off and, things happen like that. So pen storage was extremely important. or is extremely important. And I think that that's something that, like, if you're looking into, getting more than, I would say, 2 pins, like if you're looking to collect these pins or like have multiples, I think we need to look into like getting some sort of box or some sort of pin roll, or something like that, until so that you can store your pins properly. And last but not least, this is one of the things that, like, I don't want to say I wish I had have known, but I think that I came into the pen world with this kind of mindset, and like I slowly learned that that's not the case. Fountain pens are not watches, and what I mean by that is, there's a YouTube short where a guy says that the fountain pen community is in the same space that that watches were, where it's bubbling and it's gonna explode, and fountain pens are gonna be this huge thing, like the watch world. And I just don't believe that. Now I don't believe that. I used to think that, like, oh, you need to get these limited edition pens, and you need to hold on to them, and they're like these collector things, like they're cheap now and then you're gonna be able to sell them for more later. And I don't think that that's the case with pens, because fountain pens have been out for a long time. And I always say this when I tell people about pens: writing with a fountain pen is an inconvenience in itself, right? Because you have to have, like, for one, fountain pens are expensive. Like, even at some of the cheaper levels, like having a Jinhao is like a couple dollars, right? But to get like a decent quality pen, I think that if the lowest pen I would pay for is probably a TWSBI, right, which is like $35. But when you look at it from a price perspective on the type of pens that you can get a pack of Bics for a few dollars, right? But you got to get one pen from TWSBI for $35, right? And then you have to buy ink for it. And then you have to get the proper kind of paper, because you can't just use a notebook because it's going to bleed through, right? So sitting down and using a fountain pen in itself is an expense. It's an inconvenience in itself, right? Watches, on the other hand, are a luxury item. I do feel like, to a certain extent, fountain pens are luxury items, but I don't think that they are luxury items to the point where watches are, right? I don't think they're going to end up in that crazy resale market where people are going to be buying up all of the fountain pens and then selling them on eBay for double the price. Like, first of all, there are way too many pens out there, and fountain pens in itself are already expensive. Sailor releases I think every release they have, except for like the black and gold pens, are limited releases. It seems like nowadays. The Progress Slim has an insane amount of like different color variations, and it just doesn't make sense for that to be the case, because it's not like it's not like in the watch world, like they have companies, Rolex, Audemars Piguet, Patek, all of those companies, it takes a lot to make a watch, right? And you can sell a package, or a pack of watches, I would say, from the sneaker world, you can sell a pack of watches or a collection of watches for a couple $1,000,000. I think that the only people that have like extremely expensive pens is Pilot, but they don't sell out like that, because at the end of the day, they're still pens, right? So I don't think the pen world is going to be like the watch world, as some people would like to call it. But again, you never know. But I know for me, my pens are solely for the purpose of writing. I'm not here to sell my pens, and I'm not here to, go around flaunting like, hey, I got this new Rolex. Like, nah, that's just not the case for me. So those are some of the things I wish I had have known. If you all made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. Consider subscribing and liking the video. I'm gonna keep doing more things. I'm trying to ramp up production on videos and get more videos out, being as that I have the time. So I really appreciate everybody who tunes in and listens to me ramble about this stuff. So thank you.